Hey guys, and welcome to Should You Buy It, where all we do is talk a little bit about the game and tell you whether or not we think it's worth the cost.
Careful now. You ought not have anticipated any other outcome.
In this episode, we'll be playing Hades 2, an intense roguelike dungeon crawler where your goal is to defeat the Titan of Time himself, Kronos. Along the way, you will conquer procedurally generated worlds and use a wide variety of weapons and abilities to fit your unique playstyle. Now, the first question that we always cover on these videos is what stage of development is the game in? And in this case, in Hades 2, it is currently in early access and available on PC for $30. Once the game is in full release, they do however have plans to release it on console, so do keep an eye out for that. But what exactly is the game? Well, Hades 2 is a roguelike game with a few major elements that help it to stand out, such as its immersive storytelling, top-down fast-paced combat, and different progression systems. It's not going to be easy, as you won't be strong enough without the help of powerful boons given to you by your god companions, which play a pivotal role in the campaign. So with that being said, what better place do we have to start than by talking about the storytelling and world building? In Hades 2, you play as Melanoi, and your goal is to reclaim the House of Hades. To accomplish that, you will battle through the depths and will encounter not only dangerous enemies, but gods and other companions as well. Each one of these gods and companions is also a fully voice-acted character, so every encounter feels both immersive and unique.
No idea what a feat it is having old Hestia invested in your task.
Each of those gods will also say different things based on how you progress in the game. This is something that other roguelikes are definitely currently missing out on, and I'm certainly glad to be seeing it here. Now, as you start to build your relationships with those companions and gods, you will start to unlock new dialogue and keepsakes that can make a significant difference in the difficulty of your runs. You see, just like the original Hades, Hades 2 is all about trial and error. Each run starts with you selecting one of several different weapon types and then choosing a starter boon from a random god. In the runs, you will encounter enemies that each have their own moves and abilities for you to deal with. At the start, these enemies can be things like banshees that scream at you or worms that shoot a very slow-moving projectile. But as you get deeper into the game, you will encounter much more challenging foes and bosses for you to deal with. Now, each one of these boss fights is going to feel very challenging, but it will also leave you with this feeling or sense of accomplishment when you finally are able to down them, at least for the very first time, that is. An example of this would be the Sirens boss, which is a council fight style boss fight, and each member has their own moveset, which creates an extremely chaotic encounter with multiple things going on all at one time. When you start to put all of these different elements together, it means at the start of the game, you will die. And you will probably die a lot, but as you start to learn enemies' moves and progress further into the game, each run will start to get substantially easier. Before you drop into each run though, along with the weapon that you bring in, you'll be able to equip powerful Arcana cards and keepsakes. These are buffs that you can unlock and upgrade in order to do things like, say, get an extra life, increase your damage, or just have a higher chance to receive a boon from a very specific god. As you go through a run, you will encounter different gods who will bless you with their boons, which can upgrade your abilities to dramatically change how you play for that specific run. Some examples would be the boon for Poseidon, which can give your attacks the ability to knock enemies away, or a boon for Selene that will give you a new ultimate ability, like say a laser beam or the ability to raise enemies from the dead. One of the more unique features to Hades 2 is the fact that you'll also have access to a magic system that allows you to charge up your attacks in order to unleash powerful abilities in order to deal with the different enemies you're fighting. As you progress and gather more resources, you'll become substantially stronger, which will help you to achieve that godlike build that you're going to need if you want to take down Kronos. Now, before we move on to the pros and cons section, we feel it's important to mention that the devs recently released the Olympic update. This adds a new zone called the Surface, which comes with fresh bosses, allies, and even some cool new cosmetics for your hub area. Now for today, we're not going to dive too deep into the update as it's something that just came out, but it's great to see how much the devs are actually adding into their game. Now it's time for the pros and cons section of the video. First up for the pros has got to be the hot tub scenes. Alright, I'm just f***ing kidding, obviously. The hot tub scenes are not a pro. But your first pro is, as with the first game, Hades 2 is absolutely stunning. The hand-drawn visuals are jaw-droppingly gorgeous, and each new area you come across feels both unique and alive. The soundtrack is an absolutely epic mix of haunting melodies and adrenaline-pumping tracks that perfectly match the gameplay you're currently doing. The voice acting is also top tier and brings each character to life with charm, personality, and plenty of witty banter. Next is the expanded gameplay mechanics. The game just builds on the fast-paced roguelike formula of the original with new weapons, new abilities, and boon paths which offer you even more variety and customization depending on your chosen playstyle. After that is the challenging and rewarding combat. The combat is both super intense and challenging, just like it was in the first game. You're going to die to some of the most aggravating things while you're playing through Hades 2, like a slow-moving worm bolt from across the map that you just happen to miss out of the corner of your eye, or a simple sack lasering you down. Eventually though, you will find that god tier build and have a successful run that just feels incredibly good to accomplish. And finally for the pros is just the overall sense of progression within the game. Hades 2 just has so many different progression systems available to you. I mean, on top of everything we've already mentioned up until this point in the video, you even have a farming system and a cauldron where you can brew up different recipes to improve your town and upgrade your quality of life features. The point is that each run feels better than the last, and you always feel like you've accomplished something with the time you've spent in the game. Now let's go ahead and move over to the cons section. First up is that the game is just not a big leap forward from Hades 1. While Hades 2, don't get me wrong, does improve on the foundation of the original, it doesn't feel like it's got any groundbreaking evolution for the series. And I understand that it can certainly be hard to revolutionize a sequel to a game that already won Game of the Year, but you shouldn't go into this game expecting to feel like you are playing something entirely new. And finally for the cons is that the game can just feel like a grind. While most roguelites are, to be fair, a grindy style of game, Hades 2 is one that requires you to take a nearly identical path each time to get to the end. And yes, there is procedural generation, but the variety isn't enough to keep it fresh. This makes playing it in the early stages of a run very repetitive. Other popular roguelike games like, say, Risk of Rain 2 combat this by having at least some kind of a rotation of different starting zones for the player and different enemies to make each run feel a bit more fresh each time you start. Again, there is some variety within Hades 2, but for us, it just wasn't enough, at least not at this point in the game's development, to make it not feel like you were doing a grind. So now it's time for the rating for the game. And when we rate games, we want to get at least 1 hour of enjoyment for every $1 that we spent on the game. So for this case in Hades 2, we would want to get 30 hours of enjoyment out of the $30 cost of the game. And after playing this game, we give it 9 out of 10 potatoes. And yeah, to be honest with you, Hades 2 is just an amazing game. It keeps all of the visuals and storytelling from the first game and builds upon it with new combat elements, new dialogues, and new characters that truly keep you immersed in the underworld style environment. Now, while the game does tend to get a bit grindy from time to time, it still gives you a great sense of meaningful progression. That's not to even mention that with its quick in and out playstyle, you can always jump in for a quick run before bed or before work. Hades 2 is honestly one of the few games nowadays that is able to deliver when it comes to the hype and expectations it has, which is why we feel that Hades 2 is without a doubt worth the cost. Before you guys go, I do want to give you a quick thank you for watching the video. Like it if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, and share if you've got some friends that might be interested. Thank you all so much for watching once again. I'm Game Advisor, and I'll see you in the next one.